Brett Strong, Internet Skeptic. Series title 60 Seconds or Less, where I utterly destroy the world's top Christian apologists in 60 seconds or less. As you know, as I often say, obviously it's going to take me more than 60 seconds, a few more minutes than that, but like I always say too, I love the title, so it stays. Up next to bat will be Gary Habermas and his son Mike Licona. And when I say son, I'm using air quotes. Gary Habermas, I think he has 2 PhDs. Mike Licona has 1 PhD. Gary Habermas is like a hockey guy. I think he played for the Buffalo Sabres. He was an enforcer. Look at, he's a beefy old guy, got a like a beer gut, but it's probably hard as hell. Hockey guy, and his quote quote son, Mike Licona, he's like a basketball height, like he's like 7'6", or something like that. He's a karate expert. I think he's got 8th degree Taekwondo expert. I think he fought Bruce Lee in a tournament back in the day. I don't know who won that fight. So we got Gary Habermas, Christian apologist, ex-hockey enforcer from the Buffalo Sabres, and his son Mike Licona. I think he's like 6'11", 6'9", something like that. 8th degree black belt, martial arts guy. I think he fought like Bruce Lee back in the day. Well, anyway, what I'm going to be disarming them about would be their 5 minimum facts. They like to do a lecture called Minimum Facts. They got 5 of them. And it's like this. Their bullet point is the minimum facts. First minimum fact, Jesus really lived. Second minimum fact, Jesus died by crucifixion. Third minimum fact, Jesus' tomb was found empty. Fourth minimum fact, Jesus' disciples, as well as Apostle Paul and Jesus' brother James, all had experienced that Jesus was risen from the dead. And number 5 minimum fact, the disciples were willing to die for their belief that Jesus had risen. This is their lecture series. These 3 PhDs between these guys, and this is their minimum facts. Well, let's look at facts, minimum facts. To me, that's totally misleading, because they don't have any facts. It should be the 5 fairy tales, the 5 imaginings, the 5 hypotheticals, the 5 opinions, the 5 speculations, the 5 imaginations. But facts, come on. Let's start at the base, the foundation. Jesus really lived. Even as a mere man, that's still speaking hypothetically. Now, it's very believable that there was a guy named Jesus. He got a little following, pissed some people off. They crucified him, and they fed his bodies to the dogs. And after a while, they made him into a myth, like, he was a man. And they threw him some superhero powers through oral tradition and paper. And now he's like Jesus the God man. He went from Jesus, who was a poor little Jewish guy that walked around, just doing good and pissed the wrong people off, and they crucified him, and they fed his bodies to the dog, and and a while later, now he's God. Now he's man God. He's a man with superhero powers. I mean, that is very believable. But even speaking about a earthly Jesus, a historical Jesus, just a pure man who just got crucified for the wrong reason and his body fed to the dog, even that alone is still hypothetical. We don't even have to go to superhero Jesus, the miracle working Jesus. Even Jesus as a mere man is hypothetical, because as you know, folks listening to my podcast, my series, 60 Seconds or Less, Jesus is not found in history. 4 BCE to 30 AD. He's not found. Not even a historical Jesus. Not found. Go to Jerusalem, as I always say. Go to Nazareth. Go to Galilee. You don't have to believe me. Go to the top universities in the world. The top institutions. They would tell you, like, Jesus is not found in history. Nowhere on earth. 4 BCE to 30 days, just not found. Jesus is found in writings decades later by a mentally ill guy named Apostle Paul. Romans 7, he basically said he was mentally ill. So if you want to look at Jesus, he's not found in history. Just decades later, this mentally ill guy who admitted in 1 Corinthians 15:3 that, hey, somebody sold me this ideal. Paul, he's mentally ill. I feel bad for the guy. He's mentally ill. Somebody sells him this ideal. Like, hey, man, dying, rising God. And Paul bought into a hook, line, and sinker. Yeah, so 4 BC to 30 days, nothing. You want to go as just a mere man, Jesus? Still not found. Forget the miracle worker. A mere man, still not found. Decades later, you got a mentally ill guy saying, yeah, somebody sold me this ideal and I bought into it. Here's a guy mentally ill. He said he's homeless. He said he's been naked in the streets, hungry, cold, shivering, beaten, whipped, shipwrecked, in prison, jailed, forsaken. I mean, the guy's a wreck. And this wreck of a guy says, yeah, somebody sold me that deal and I bought it. I feel bad for the guy. And then decades later, you have the Gospels. These are anonymous writings. We don't know who wrote them. And the central character is a superhero guy, a man with superpowers. That's all you have. So we have nothing from the time period of 4 BC to 30 AD, nothing. And then decades later, you got this mentally ill guy and his ramblings. And in the decades after that, you got these anonymous books talking about a superhero. So the foundation of Gary Habermas and Mike Licona, Jesus really lived, that's hypothetical. Even as a mere man, hypothetical. So 5 minimum facts, folks, that's being pretty fraudulent if you ask me. Because he does, even a mere man, Jesus, there's nothing there. So you can't say minimum facts. You have to say, hey, 5 minimum hypotheticals. 5 minimum imaginings that we're imagining. We're speaking hypothetically Jesus lived. We're imagining that Jesus lived. We're speculating that a mere man Jesus lived at least. We're guessing, we're hoping, we're believing. Check this out. If you listen to ancient scholars, when they're debating, when they're really being honest, like Dale Martin, he's a distinguished professor of Yale University Ancient History. Just watch him on YouTube sometime when he's debating. Like he was debating Mike Licona, Dale Martin. And he will use again and again and again. I think, I believe, we believe, scholars think. Folks, it will shock you at how much thinking he puts out. He never says hardcore fact because there isn't none. That's what I like about Dale Martin. At least he's honest. He will flat out tell you, like, if you really want to push him to the wall, there's no hardcore facts in history. History is gone. It's just a reconstruction. We're imagining stuff. So at least Dale Martin, one of the top ancient historians in the world, has the guts to admit, like, hey, what we're doing is basically imagining the stuff to be real. But we can't prove it because 4 BCE to 30 AD doesn't know anything of Jesus, not even a historical Jesus. So we're basically up here on stage lecturing. This is imagining. So Gary Habermas, Mike Licona, I suggest you take Dale Martin, a top PA scholar of the world, take his truth, which is the truth. Like, hey, you don't have minimum facts. What you basically have is minimum imaginings. Jesus really lived, you're imagining that. Jesus died of crucifixion, you're imagining that. Jesus' tomb was found empty. You're imagining that. Jesus' disciples, as well as Paul and Jesus' brother James, and all had experienced that Jesus was risen from the dead. You're imagining that. The disciples were willing to die for the belief that Jesus had risen. You're imagining that. That's all imagination. That's all make-believe. That's all in their head. So, Gary Habermas, Mike Licona, their 5 minimum facts, it's not facts. Because just saying Jesus as a mere man lived, that's still being hypothetical. Think about it, folks. If the police got 50 calls saying there is a naked man running on the highway right now in the snow, he's butt naked doing push-ups on the highway, and the police descended on that part of the highway and didn't find anything, nothing, didn't find any snow tracks, no naked man, no nothing. Then even though they had 100 calls, it's still hypothetical that there was a naked man on the highway doing push-ups in the snow. It's still hypothetical. It's not real because we're here. There's nothing here. So those calls, you still have to say, hey, this is hypothetical. There's nothing here. Now just say, hey, if they call and say, hey, there's a naked man on the highway doing push-ups and he's flying in the air. He's moonwalking on the snow, man. He's levitating on the snow, moonwalking. And then he's doing naked push-ups on the snow. He's levitating. He's not even going through the snow. There's like a foot of puffy white snow on the highway cover. There's this naked guy and he's levitating doing push-ups. He's levitating, moonwalking like Michael Jackson. What would you say? This is fiction. This is fiction. Even if you got 100 calls, you'd be like, man, something's going on, man. But people are being cuckoo tonight because they're saying there's this naked man levitating on the air, butt naked, snow highway. He's moonwalking, levitating. He's levitating, doing push-ups on the snow. Let's go investigate it. This is sounds quirky, but let's do it. And they'll go and then they found no one. They would say, hey, even at 1,000 calls, like, man, there's something going on, man. But this is not real. This is fantasy. At the very most, they could say, well, hey, maybe there was a real guy, but we just couldn't find him. No tracks, no nothing. But, a guy levitating in the air, moonwalking and push up there. Come on, this is pure fantasy. And in the New Testament Jesus, if one wants to say, yeah, there's a historical Jesus, I could buy that. Can't prove it's still hypothetical. I can buy that. But when you look at the New Testament Jesus, he's a superhero. This guy is flying in the air, disappearing on a cloud. Look at Acts 1-9. He's playing hide-go-seek with the guys. Now you see me, now you don't. 40-day period. Now you see me, now you don't. Now I appear out of thin air, now I disappear. I mean, read the Gospels. I mean, this guy, I said, his face turns into the sun. He walks on water. No, check this out. Not only does he walk on water, but if you read John's version of walking on water, when he jumps into the boat is 3 to 4 miles out. Jesus jumps into the boat and it says instantaneously they're on the shore. So they jump. Jesus gets in the boat and they go through a time physical machine. Not just a time machine, but a time and physical machine that they instantly arrive on the shore. Read it, folks. Look, when he was born, they had a GPS star. The star is moving so the wise men can find him. A star is moving, like shows up, moves, directs him, goes, disappears, shows up. Come on, folks. Born of a virgin, this disembodied God, Christian God, got a 12-year-old, 13-year-old girl, 14-year-old girl, whatever, pregnant. And out comes this superhero Jesus. 12 years old, he's smarter than anyone on earth. IQ off the charts. 30 years old, he's now a superhero. Doing miracle after miracle after miracle. Come on, this is a fairy tales. Common sense. Take science that we know today, take modern medicine, and apply that to back then and go, man, this is the New Testament Jesus. This is fairy tale. But irregardless, Jesus is not found. No type of Jesus. No historical Jesus. No superhero Jesus. No nothing. So Gary Habermas, Mike Licona, their minimum facts from the very foundation gives way to being totally hypothetical, being totally imaginary, being totally just belief. That's all. There's nothing there. 4 BCE, 30 AD, there's nothing there. Nothing. There's no Jesus. There's no nothing. There's no artifacts. There's no writings. There's no inscription. There's no empty tomb. There's nothing. 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 And there you have it. Gary Habermas, Mike Licona, utterly destroyed. 60 seconds or less. Brett Strong signing off.